So for that reason, I just thought I'd start out by very quickly sort of running through our base methodology that we use in order to be, as we like to say, the contemporary equivalents of the medieval watchman that stood on the turret of the castle and sort of scanned the horizon looking for the marauding hordes and what's coming next. So like most agencies or most people that work in the features foresight space, we use one of the little acronyms to try and hang our scanning techniques into. Now, the sort of acronym that you use doesn't really matter too much, whether you're using a pestle or a TPCs or whatever it is, but it is helpful to start categorizing your trends into different buckets, whatever those buckets may be, just so that you are making sure that you are covering a lot of ground. So if you're just looking at everything, it can be quite overwhelming. So it does make sense to try and segment it, even if it's just to break up the workflow, depending on how big your team is. So the acronym that we've developed is TRENDS itself, TRENDS, as you can see there on the screen. T for technology, R for retail, E for economy, N for natural world, D for diplomacy, and S for sociocultural. So what makes our model a bit different to most of the pestle TPCs types models is that green segment, that retail segment, which we put in specifically because so many of our clients are in the private sector working in the corporate space. So that R in our trend scanning wheel that you can see on the screen there really relates to business model change. So things like the subscription movement, for example, would be put in there. It's how businesses connect with consumers. So more microeconomics, something that our clients have direct control over, as is in contrasted by economy, which is more classic macroeconomics, the economic environment that our clients don't have control over. So that's really the key difference between our scanning methodology and the more common ones you'll hear about. And then diplomacy is probably also worth just mentioning quickly, because diplomacy, we really pile everything in there, including geopolitics and law and order and governance itself. Because once again, that's all external factors to our clients. Mostly in these scanning models, people will break out law with geopolitics, but for our purposes, because it is an external factor, it makes more sense to focus more on the R for retail and the S for socio-cultural, which is something that we have quite a lot of work that we do. I won't go into that too much tonight, but what we also do as part of our socio-cultural, that sort of purple segment on the screen, is we have quite a robust body of work in tribes that we do at our agency. So tribes really looks at consumer groups, but unusual consumer groups. So the one that I've been speaking about quite a lot this week is the lushkin culture, which is something that's unique to South Africa, but it speaks to conspicuous consumption, which is quite interesting considering all the sort of macro trends going on at the moment. And lushkin culture refers to people actually part of the very lower echelons of our socioeconomic plane in South Africa. These are people who are living just above the breadline in informal settlements, but in an ability to try and show their dominance within their tribe or within their community. They actually burn things like money or expensive shoes, things that they actually can't really afford to lose, to show their power and place in society. So that's just one example of a tribe that we'll put in. I'm not going to be going through our tribes work today, but if you want to invite me back, I can always come and show you some of the tribes we have been collecting. We've been doing this for many years. We've published a couple of books on it, but that's a sort of a subsegment of the work that we do.